Do you see strange events around you? Wars, earthquakes, sudden climate changes, and a society increasingly distant from divine values. This is not a coincidence. The most alarming prophecy of the Holy Scriptures is manifesting before our eyes, and few people realize it. This is a warning you must hear before it's too late. My dear brothers and sisters watching me now, you are very welcome. In a new video on our channel, today, I bring you a revelation that many try to hide, but we can no longer ignore. We are witnessing in real time the fulfillment of one of the most significant prophecies of the entire Holy Bible. The signs everywhere. The world as we know it is undergoing profound transformations, exactly as it was predicted in the Scriptures thousands of years ago. It is no coincidence that extraordinary events are occurring simultaneously in different parts of the planet. There is a divine plan underway, and we must prepare for it. Before continuing with this surprising revelation, I ask you to click the subscribe button and activate the notification bell. That way, you won't miss any of our upcoming videos on biblical revelations that could completely change your perspective on the times we are living in. Also, share this content with your friends and family, as everyone needs to be aware of what is coming. The book of Revelation, also known as Apocalypse, is one of the most enigmatic and profound texts of the Bible. Written by the Apostle John during his exile on the island of Patmos, this book contains visions and prophecies about the last days of humanity. However, it is in chapter 13 that we find one of the most alarming and feared prophecies that is beginning to manifest before our eyes. Revelation 13:16-17 tells us, "And it causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their forehead, and that no one may buy or sell, except one who has the mark, the name of the beast, or the number of his name." This passage describes an unprecedented global control system where a mark or sign becomes mandatory to participate in society, to buy or sell. Many Bible scholars have warned about this prophecy over the centuries, but never before. We have never been as close to seeing its fulfillment as we are today. Let's analyze recent events that prove we are witnessing the beginning of the fulfillment of this prophecy. First, we must understand the broader context of the signs of the end times that Jesus mentioned in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 24. Jesus told his disciples, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Be careful, do not be alarmed, for all this must happen. But it will not yet be the end, for nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines, plagues, and earthquakes in various places. But all these things will be the beginning of sorrows." Notice that Jesus called these events the beginning of sorrows, like the contractions that precede childbirth. And what do we see today? An unprecedented increase in global conflicts, devastating pandemics, extreme natural disasters, and global economic instability. In recent years, we have seen the emergence of groundbreaking technologies that allow for increased control over commercial and financial transactions. Digital payment systems are rapidly replacing physical money. Implantable chips containing personal data are already being used in several countries for identification, building access, and even for payments. Large tech companies are developing increasingly sophisticated biometric identification systems, which use facial, fingerprint, or eye recognition to authenticate identities. These technologies, although presented as innovations to make our daily lives easier, pave the way for a global control system that aligns perfectly with the prophecy of the apocalypse. Moreover, we are witnessing the accelerated development of digital currencies controlled by central banks, which have the potential to completely replace physical money. Once this system is in place, it would be possible to control who can or cannot participate in the economy, exactly as described in the biblical prophecy. Another alarming aspect is the increasing social and governmental pressure for citizens to conform to certain behaviors and ideologies. Those who resist face social exclusion, loss of job opportunities, and travel restrictions, and limitations in access to basic services. Doesn't this precisely remind us of the scenario described in the Apocalypse, where no one can buy or sell without conforming to the established system? It is important to emphasize that I am not claiming that any specific technology or current identification document is the mark of the beast. What I'm highlighting is that for the first time in human history, we have the technological infrastructure and social structure necessary to implement a global system, such as the one described in the book of Revelation. The Bible warns us in 1 Thessalonians 5:6. So then, let us not be like others, who are asleep, but let us be awake and sober. This verse reminds us of the importance of staying awake and discerning the signs of the times. Another crucial aspect of this prophecy is the global unification under a single authority. Revelation describes a world government that will exercise control over every tribe, people, language, and nation. We are witnessing an unprecedented movement towards globalization and global governance. International organizations are gaining more and more power over sovereign nations. They promote agendas aimed at unifying the economic, political, and even religious aspects of society. The Bible also warns us about the increase of apostasy in the last days. In 2 Timothy 4:3-4, we read, "For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but having itching ears, they will accumulate for themselves teachers in accordance with their own desires, and they will turn their ears away from the truth and will turn aside to myths." This verse precisely describes the current religious scenario where many churches are abandoning the fundamental truths of the Christian faith to adopt doctrines that are pleasing to the ears but stray from the true gospel. We see religious leaders who deny the authority of the scriptures, question the divinity of Jesus Christ, and promote a Christianity that adapts to cultural trends instead of transforming lives according to divine standards. This widespread apostasy, combined with the growing persecution of true Christians, is another clear sign that we are approaching the fulfillment of the prophecy of Revelation. In many parts of the world, Christians are being persecuted like never before. Churches are being destroyed, believers are imprisoned, tortured, and killed for their faith. And even in supposedly Christian nations, those who remain faithful to biblical teachings are increasingly marginalized and silenced. Jesus warned us about this in John 15:18-19. "If the world hates you, know that it hated me before you. If you were of the world would love its own. But because you are not of the world, and I have chosen you out of the world, that is why the world hates you." Furthermore, Daniel 12:4 prophesied, "But you, Daniel, keep these words secret and seal the book until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase." This passage speaks of a significant increase in knowledge and global mobility in the last days. We are witnessing this with the advent of the internet, which has enabled instant access to unimaginable amounts of information, and with modern means of transportation that make rapid travel across the world possible. A particularly concerning aspect of the prophecy of Revelation is the description of a controlled global economic system. Today, we are witnessing an unprecedented centralization of economic power in the hands of a few multinational corporations. These entities exert significant influence over governments and public policies, controlling fundamental aspects of the daily lives of billions of people. The prophet Isaiah said, "Woe to those who decree unjust decrees, and to the scribes who write perversities to deprive the poor of justice and rob the rights of the afflicted of my people." Isaiah 10:1-2. We see this systemic injustice in many nations today, where the rich and powerful manipulate laws and economic systems to their advantage, while the poor and vulnerable are increasingly marginalized. At the same time, the Bible describes the moral collapse of society in the last days. In 2 Timothy 3:1-5, Paul writes, "Know this, in the last days perilous times will come. For men will be selfish, greedy, boastful, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without natural affection, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, cruel, enemies of good people, traitors, reckless, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power." Isn't this exactly what we see? A society that is increasingly individualistic, where selfishness, materialism, and the pursuit of immediate pleasure replace values like compassion, integrity, and the fear of God. The traditional family, instituted by God since the beginning of creation, is constantly under attack. Marriage is redefined. Motherhood and fatherhood are devalued, and children are prematurely exposed to content that corrupts their innocence. Another alarming prophecy that is coming true before our eyes is the global environmental deterioration. In Revelation 11:18, we read that God will destroy those who destroy the earth. Never before in human history have we witnessed such a systematic degradation of the environment. Industrial-scale pollution, rampant deforestation, accelerated species extinction, and climate change that threaten the stability of entire ecosystems. These are clear signs that we are living in the times described by biblical prophecies. However, the most feared prophecy, that of the mark of the beast, represents the pinnacle of this global control system, forming before our eyes. It is crucial to understand that the mark of the beast mentioned in the Apocalypse is not just a physical symbol, but represents submission and worship to the anti-Christian system. The Bible clearly indicates that the decision to accept or reject this mark will be a conscious choice involving worship. Revelation 14:9-11 sternly warns against the consequences of receiving this mark. If anyone worships the beast and its image and receives a mark on their forehead or on their hand, they will also drink the wine of God's wrath, poured full strength into the cup of his anger. And they will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and the Lamb. As Christians, we must remain vigilant and discern the signs of the times. Jesus instructed us, "When you see these things happening, know that the kingdom is near, at the door." Mark 13:29. We must not live in fear, but with wisdom and discernment, firm in the faith and hope we have in Christ.